Welcome to This Week in America, episode number 7. And today we're going to be talking about how Black Americans do not have any friends. And it's a very unfortunate situation. So that's what we're going to be diving in on This Week in America, episode number 7. Okay, listen up, y'all. If we go look at this, recently we have information out from the UN, and I'm going to break it all down. So this is what happened this week. UN's landmark slavery ruling energizes African Union's fight for reparations. Now, make sure you really understand African Union's fight for reparations. And, over the years, right, you study and be like, white folks are the problem when it comes to slavery, particularly in the United States, right, as a Black American, FBA. And then you learn, and as myself, I learned over the years, and I did not want to accept the fact that Africans, say like people in Ghana, which was the Golden Coast, they actually were capturing Africans, bringing them to the coast, and selling them to Europeans. So essentially, Africans played a major role of selling Africans to Europeans, which helped the transatlantic slave trade. So they took prisoners of war and whatever the situation is, and then they send us to the Germans, or excuse me, to the English, to the Dutch, to the Portuguese, to the Spanish, the English, and then we all got shipped over to the islands. We got shipped to the United States. Right? That's how it went. And I was a Pan African. I even got the Pan African flag tatted on me, right? I love Marcus Garvey. I love Kwame Ture. I love, Patrice Lumumba, all these historical figures. But the game has changed. When you really think about what's going on, you have the whole reparations conversation. Reparations, in my opinion, should be for people who were enslaved, not from the nations who participated in the slavery. So Ghana is pushing for slavery reparations. And as some people say, them selling to trapped people, captured Africans, which turned out to be the island people in the future and the Americans, we got sold by Africans for the most part to Europeans. So you have problem one is that the Africans participated. Problem two, the Europeans enslaved us for hundreds of years with the most extreme brutality that you could possibly ever imagine. So for the Ghanaian president to basically like, we want reparations, it's like, why would you get reparations? You should be talking about your colonialism reparations, not for slavery. If anyone was going to get slavery reparations, it has to be the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. Does that make sense? The people on the Western Hemisphere, the Caribbeans and the Americas, and particularly Black Americans who have been enslaved for hundreds of years, especially Black Americans. And then you got this whole situation in America with the whole tether problem. Africans and Arabs and Hispanics, people coming to the United States, eating off of our civil rights bills, our voting act bills, our discrimination bills, the DEI, and the list goes on. They're eating off of this, and then they're saying immigrants built America, but they just got here yesterday. They wasn't here in 1619, 1719. They got here in 1960, 1970. And some of them just got here literally one generation ago, probably 40 years ago, were their parents. When their parents came here at age 30, had them at 35, 40. And now they 30 years old, 40 years old, talking about we built America. Immigrants didn't build America, y'all. That's what we dealing with. And then if you think about this, Latinos voting for Donald Trump in numbers that they shouldn't have, they getting rounded up by ICE with the Somalis and whatnot. And they want us to be out there protesting, but they get into power and the nonprofits and the businesses, they go into communities and they don't rock with us. They don't support us when we're dealing with things. They don't hire us. They don't purchase from us. And if you think about this as a black person, have you sold products to Mexicans? Have you sold products to Arabs or services? How about to Africans? And we could talk about the Asians too, but the Asians don't do all that talking for the most part. They really seem to be the most chill group of people. So answer the question. Have you sold products to Africans, Arabs, Mexicans, Latinos, all the Hispanics, the Europeans, immigrants? Probably not. So that's what we're dealing with. And when I mean black people don't have no friends, this is what I'm talking about. Even Mamdani, New York City Mayor Mamdani apologizes for excluding black Americans in city built by immigrants comment. He had to even correct himself, trying to tell us that people like him, and I like Mamdani, but people like him built this country when people like her and myself actually built this country, built New York. Y'all didn't know, but Seneca Village, where Central Park is today, that was a black-owned area. The land got stolen, okay? So you also need to go research Claude Anderson to add on to this point. Dr. Claude Anderson talked about this years ago. He dropped a book called Powernomics. Powernomics talked about if we don't get our stuff together, we're going to be a permanent underclass. These people, unfortunately, are not our friends. And I'm not talking about individuals. If you got a wife that's, white, Mexican, Asian, Arab, African, whatever, I'm not talking about him or her. I'm talking about the group, the voting bloc, the economic bloc. When these other people get contracts, they don't hire us. When we get contracts, we hire them. What's wrong with that? The thing's got to be mutual. The time of the Black Panthers and all that, which I'm a big fan of the Black Panthers, that global community they had of revolutionaries, that's over. We don't have global revolutionaries now. Shout out to Red Pill as well. He made a great breakdown on the Black Magic 363 about how immigrants come over here and they receive benefits based off of our labors of the past and the present. They receive grants, cheap rates of loans, housing, medical, all these list of things, educational stamps, the STEM grants. And then they come over here and they defend the white folks because the white folks have gave this to them. They think we lazy. Y'all see my viral clip on TikTok where I posted about Godfrey schooling the other African descendant of a Nigerian immigrant? It went viral because that clip breaks down exactly what the outlook is. The other guy didn't want to listen. Godfrey's educated. We like Godfrey. He's educated. He know black Americans invented many things, contributed to this society today and in the past. But they see something like Barack Obama, and then they forget that Michelle Obama is a black American, the first lady. Because Barack Obama, father is a Kenyan, from Kenya. So then they say, look, see, y'all ain't even got no press, y'all ain't did this and that, calling us lazy. So as a black American, my PSA, my public service announcement is to remind us that we don't have any friends. And it is what it is. We have to continue to invest, support people like Wall Street Trapper, support people like Eric Thomas and his associates, support people that are working with us, for us. Support them. Support our black politicians that ain't APAC babies, the ones that actually work with us. We have to educate ourselves and knowing that we are all we got. That's my message for this week. This week in AmeriKKKa, episode number 7. Let me know what y'all think, y'all.